Hello, my name is Ariel, and this is our third reflection video. My group members are Victor, Monica, and Paloma. And overall, we'll be discussing more interconnectedness. So let's jump in, starting with Victor.
Hello, my name is Victor. In Chapter 3, National Economy, World Economy from Megatrends by John Exford, he covered six key points. Technological advances, meaning we are now able to communicate and connect businesses across borders from never before. And that global trade, that there has been an increase in international trade with goods and services flowing more freely between countries because before we couldn't do easily, we would only rely on cargo, and multinational corporations, companies are expanding their operations globally, contributing to the interconnectedness of economies, meaning that there has been a increase of different of offices being built all around the globe. And that international financial markets are becoming more integrated, affecting economies worldwide and economic interdependence. Nations are becoming more dependent on each other for resources, markets, and investments. And also adaptation. Individuals and businesses must adapt to these changes to thrive in a global economy. Well, yeah, because if you can't, or if you're not able to adapt to these new changes, your part of the economy will fail. And so the summary of the TED Ed Can the Economy Grow Forever? I did four key points, and they are that capitalism isn't a monolithic system. There are various forms depending on how these three dials are adjusted. The video emphasizes that the impact of capitalism and society and the environment varies widely based on these three settings, which are private ownership of capital, central coordination and use of markets to set prices, and that climate change. Capitalism economies often prioritize economic growth, leading to a high demand for cheap energy sources like fossil fuels, which contributes to the climate change significantly, and also the increase of inequality over the past 50 years. The top 1% of income earners have been capturing a larger share of income, leading to a rising of inequality. And also, it talks about the challenges of contemporary capitalism. The video argues that contemporary capitalism is a major drive for both climate change and inequality. And a source that I found very useful is how capitalism is a driving force of climate change. And it highlighted that economic growth worldwide leads to the increased consumption of natural resources, which causes pollution and loss of biodiversity. And I also said that progressive scholars recognize the serious damage that results from a global capitalist drive, meaning that a drive would is the major reason for the climate change due to the use of fossil fuels, and the endless efforts of private owners to expand and increase their profits force a perpetual treadmill of production and consumption, relying mainly on fossil fuels or alternative sources of greenhouse gases, has also contributed to the increase of climate change because they're relying on fossil fuels rather than other alternatives that can be more renewable energy. And that in 2010, the International Energy Agency projected that by 2030, global energy use would rise over 50%, with fossil fuels still the primary source of energy, and that is still true. And if continued dependency on the fossil fuels in industry would continue to rise the global temperatures as a direct result of global capitalism, and that is still true because, as you can see, global climate change has been a main topic in politics for all European countries and ours due to the amount of fossil fuel that has been going into our atmosphere. And that is it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Monica, and today I'll be summarizing the book by Kate Asher, The Works. The book by Kate Asher examines in depth in the intricate system of infrastructures supporting urban life, utilizing New York City as the subject of focus. The book discusses a number of systems, including communications, utilities, sanitation, and transportation, outlining how each works and interacts with the others to maintain a seamless city. By means of an intriguing blend of readable prose and educational illustrations, Asher unveils the frequently invisible workings that enable contemporary city life. So these are kind of the topics she talks about: moving people, moving freight, power, communications, keeping it clean, and she talks about the future. And I use this image here to like summarize the whole idea of book. So this is a subway system in Moscow, Russia, and it kind of looks like our nervous system, and how the nervous system, it sends signals to do certain tasks. So it's kind of like the subway system. If you think about a subway system, the subway system enables people to travel to certain locations, and then these people have they have jobs. So they could be doctors, they could be teachers, they could even be students. So it kind of shows how interconnected each element of a city is and how it contributes to the way we live. My next source is the real estate expert enters U.S. housing crisis. So in this video, Kate Milisher, a real estate expert, she answers questions asked by people online. So I'll be summarizing what she says from the questions you see here. So the housing crisis in New York City is characterized by a low vacancy of 1.4% with a affordable apartment even scarcer at 0.8%. The housing prices are high due to a supply-demand imbalance and by a shortage of 4 million houses in the US. And there's a focus on these luxury development houses that puts a higher price on these houses. She also talks about the housing technology. The technology advancements like modular construction and wooden high-rises offer potential solutions in the future. And then there's a topic about the historical issues, like redlining and how it's involved into this modern gentrification, causing displacement and exploring the rent gaps. And then there's a question about the Airbnbs. The Airbnbs has reduced housing availability and inflated rates, further fueling gentrification. And there was a question about how are people able to afford houses back then. So she kind of talks about the baby boomers benefiting from a lower price and higher incomes. But today's home to price income ratio has doubled. The next question was more about the homeless issue and why is there homelessness. And the homeless is primarily driven by the lack of affordable housing. That's why you see a lot of homelessness people in like California and like in New York. And then there was a question about why was companies buying houses? There were not, and then she answered that they were not buying houses, but these corporations were increasing investment in rental markets. So they were investing into these companies that buy homes or invest in homes. And lastly, she talks about what will bring down housing prices, and she kind of answers this that to reduce the house cost increasing in the housing supply and implementing policies like tax incentive are essential. So it kind of the questions you get from this video and topic is what policies are we going to see and what technology are we going to see in the future that's going to help with the housing crisis, at least to make houses affordable or at least to relieve the pressure of it. And then the leading question would be, are we ever going to see these affordable houses, or is just going to getting worse during the future? So that's kind of like the lingering questions we get from this topic, and that's pretty much it.
To the changing economic context of cities from urban social geography, an introduction, the authors discuss how changes in economic systems have shaped the physical and social structures of Western cities. The chapter explores the transformation from pre-industrial cities rooted in feudal economies to industrial cities driven by capitalism, and finally to the contemporary post-industrial cities. These changes have greatly influenced how different social classes lived and how cities are organized. Some key takeaways: 1, early cities were small and structured around feudal social hierarchies. The elite lived in central areas while the lower class lived on the outskirts. Number 2, the Industrial Revolution and capitalism transformed cities. The rich moved to the outskirts while poor workers lived near factories and crowded, poor quality housing. 3, in the modern era, the decline of manufacturing and the rise of service-based economies have further changed cities. Wealth has spread out more, but the labor market has become divided with stable jobs for some and insecure, low-paying jobs for others. 4, the chapter discusses the shift from Fordism, characterized by mass production and stable jobs, to post-Fordism, marked by flexibility, technological innovation, and fragmented labor markets. This has led to more diverse city structures, but also greater inequality. Some questions related to the text. Will future technological advances make cities more unequal, or can they be used to create more inclusive urban spaces? Economic development, building cities for the future, focuses on strategies cities use to encourage economic growth, such as offering tax incentives, developing innovation hubs, and providing skilled workforce training. Panelists, including economists and experts, discuss both the advantages and disadvantages of these approaches, noting that their long-term success is often uncertain. They also explore how local governments can use these tools to attract businesses and retain talent in cities. Some key takeaways. 1, cities spend large amounts of money on tax incentives to attract businesses, but the overall return on the investment is often unclear. Job creation can benefit local economies, but the impact depends on whether local residents can actually access these jobs. 3, a lack of transparency around tax incentives makes it difficult to track whether companies are fulfilling their job creation promises. 4, rather than just attracting businesses, cities should invest in workforce development to prepare local residents for new job opportunities. Programs through community colleges and job training centers are often essential to this effort. Some questions related to the video. Should workforce development be prioritized over tax incentives to ensure more sustainable economic growth?
So, in conclusion, in Megatrends, John Naisbitt highlights how technology fosters global interdependence, shifting economies and requiring adaptation. He notes challenges in capitalism like climate change and inequality driven by profit motives. Kate Asher's The Works explores New York City's infrastructure, showing how interconnected systems support urban life. The U.S. housing crisis reveals issues like low vacancy rates and gentrification, with experts recommending increased housing supply and workforce development. And economic development, building cities for the future, emphasizes the need for local training to address job access amid evolving urban economies and inequalities.